The following podcast is an Embassy Row production.
Welcome to another episode of the Shaken and Stirred Show. I'm Nigel Barker in New York. I'm here with my co-host Tom Astor in Oxford. Hey Tommy, it looks like a balmy evening looking outside. It looks like it's almost like a pink sky at night. Or maybe it's just you.
Beautiful sunset. That's why I've gone in this colour. I've got a little shade of
Aperol.
red. The Aperol. It's very hot. We've had our summer's finally arrived, and it's very exciting because it's scheduled to last for 4 days, which is huge. Over the weekend, we've got temperatures of the highest temperatures 29 degrees, which is a heat wave here. People are going to be falling over, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
It's about 85. It's about
85.
average summer's day in Woodstock.
No, here we're at the peak of summer. It's too crazy. Everyone's going nuts. Barbecues are out, and we're going to enjoy this 4 days of and also, we're not allowed to talk about, you know what, politics or the other thing that's been blighting everyone's lives for the last 18 months. But Monday, next time I see you, we will be restriction-free in this country.
Wow. My goodness. Burn the bras is what I say.
I say there are 195 countries in the world, and we're the only one who's doing it completely unrestricted, like completely lifting everything. I've got a feeling that I'm not sure we're on, unless we're on to something and 194 countries aren't, then I'm a little concerned that, well,
I have one word for you. Brexit.
We're not allowed to talk about that either.
I'll leave it at that. What are you drinking, Tommy boy?
Right. So because of the sunshine, because of this balmy summer's evening, I've made myself a little fruit cocktail. I haven't got a name for it yet.
Well,
maybe we should have a competition on the show. I can tell you what's in it, and people can come up with a name of what it should be called. Let's create a cocktail.
Name that cocktail.
There we go. Let me tell you what's in it, and then you can come up with something. It's blueberry puree summary. Fresh blueberries, I've sunk. Mint to garnish from my garden. And then that's about it for the fruit. Actually, that's not really summer fruits, is it? That's just literally blueberries. And then brandy, vodka, and sloe gin. So, more alcohol than fruit, but
so vodka, sloe gin, blueberries, and fresh mint.
Brandy.
And brandy.
Yeah, for a kick.
Wow, yeah, it's a kick in the for sure.
Yeah.
Kick in the blueberries. That's what I'm gonna
Come
call
up
it.
with a name.
That's the name.
Kick.
A kick in the blueberries.
Or a blueberry kick. Cheers. What are you drinking?
I, on the other hand, how about this? You have to guess what mine is. There you go. We'll play it right back at you. I have got lemon vodka. And, you know, vodka's one of those drinks. I don't drink a lot of vodka, as you know. I hardly ever mention vodka. But this is lemon vodka. Partly, I think, because vodka is one of those highly overrated drinks. But it's got lemon juice, about an ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of the lemon vodka, an ounce of lemon juice, a tiny bit of simple syrup, fresh mint from the garden, and then I topped it up with club soda. Now, it actually does have a name, but what would you call it?
I would call it urine sample by the looks of things.
Well, that's why you don't name cocktails. It's actually called West Side. Thank you very much. So chin chin, by the way.
Cheers.
Urine sample. Meanwhile, yours looks like something else completely.
Well, I know that's the other side of the other end.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's absolutely scrumptious. Well, a little bit of booze news, my friend. Booze news. In the world of booze news, were you aware that the world's oldest bourbon whiskey, check this out, 250 years old, has just sold for a record-breaking $110,000 for a bottle. That's quite extraordinary. Now, the bottle of bourbon but apparently predates the Revolutionary War and the Whiskey Rebellion And anyway, it went up for auction June 30th. And originally they'd estimated the going price for it would be between $20,000 and $40,000, but that was just smashed. Now, there's a really interesting story behind this bottle, because apparently originally it had belonged in the private library, because people like this have libraries of alcohol. First of all, that's what I've never heard anyone describe. I kept it in my private library. I always heard of cellars, but apparently these people have libraries. Financier J.P. Morgan, the original, what the bank is named after, J.P. Morgan, they actually paid $110,000 for it, because originally the original J.P. Morgan had owned this particular bottle. So he had been originally his hundreds of years ago, and then had come all the way now full circle. They buy it back again. I don't think Mr. J.P. Morgan would be too impressed that he had owned it and that the bank bought it back at 110,000. That's the reverse. That's the wrong direction for the bank. Seriously, right? I mean,
also, like, who says? I mean, 250 years. That's just so like fakeable.
It's unthinkable. Well, interesting enough, they put a
fakeable. No, fakeable.
Well, they put it. They put a syringe inside, and they apparently tested it, a hypodermic syringe, to reveal an original date of approximately 1763, and apparently it's a high probability that it was actually that the whiskey inside the bottle was originally created 100 years prior to that, even. So it's quite an extraordinary story. I mean, I guess the 3 bottles apparently of this was originally made back in the day. 1 bottle was given to a Supreme Court justice and governor of South Carolina, and someone else was given to Franklin Roosevelt, and another one was given to Truman. I mean, there was quite an incredible history to these bottles. Anyway, how about that? World's oldest bourbon whiskey, 250 years old, $110,000.
I reckon that beats the Scotch whiskey record, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think it beats almost every record. Well, the only fact of the matter is it's probably disgusting to drink, but hey, we'll never know, will we? Our guest today is an actress and comedian known for her relatable characters like Suburban Mum, the woman in every Hallmark movie, and Girl from Florida. She has written, performed multiple shows on the Comedy Central stage, and she's most proud, most proud, and we're going to get to this, Tom, because you're going to sit right up your alley, STD awareness video she did when she was 16, when she was paid just $75 to play a cheerleader with chlamydia. Oh, yes. Please welcome Nicole DuBois. Nicole, how are you?
Hi, I'm great.
What are you drinking? You got a delicious looking something in front of you.
I do. I have a mango ginger margarita.
Ooh. And what's the story behind that?
Well, it's sort of the cocktail of the week. My fiance has this habit of just inviting people over last minute for a drink. And so I always have something on hand that we can make to wow our guests, if you will. So this week I bought this mango ginger juice. So it's a margarita with a splash of the juice. It's pretty simple.
So you just buy the juice already made up, which is cheating.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not pureeing mangoes over here.
Okay, so you're not. But do you put the triple sec in? What is your? Are you just tequila? What kind of?
No, Nosotros tequila is what we drink. It's the best tequila ever. And then you've got to check it out. It's agave lime juice, tequila, ice, and a splash of whatever I chose to buy that week.
Fantastic. So no triple sec.
Yeah. No triple sec, just the agave to sweeten it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
A little different, a little,
I know.
I like it though. Sounds interesting. Sounds fun. But you like it and it's delicious. Cheers, by the way. Welcome to Shaken.
Cheers.
Beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
No, of course. How exciting. So I want to dive straight into it. Obviously you've got this extraordinary career. I've looked at a lot of interviews you've done. You started really as an actress, kind of got into comedy after you were an actress. But take us back, because I'd love to know you as a kid growing up. Where did you grow up, and did you dream of being an actress and a comedian? I mean, it's very hard to get into this world, and so I'd love to know what your kind of childlike dreams were like. Where you were going to be?
Yeah. Oh man, I was such a dreamer. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm from Wellesley, Massachusetts. And when I was little, I mean, I just wanted to be Britney Spears. Like that is what I wanted. And so I would do, I did dance classes and singing lessons. I'm a terrible singer, but my mom told me I was great. And so I kept on with singing lessons and theater and all that. But from the time I was like 8, I just wanted to be on stage. I loved being on stage and doing theater and costumes. And it was just, I loved it all. So then I, did high school plays. My high school had an improv team, improv comedy, which I think is like kind of rare for high school. I don't know, but I joined that freshman year, and that was my start to comedy. I think I never was intentionally funny up until that point, but people would laugh at me, so like even when I was doing the theater and I was doing all these like serious acting roles, I mean, you're a kid, but people would just laugh. And so I
But
think
that
I
didn't make
was
you insecure. You actually took
no,
the compliment.
no, I loved hearing the laughter. Like I would say something on stage and everyone would laugh, and I loved that. Just the reaction. And I always just thought I was amazing when I was little. No one could tell me anything.
Wow.
You learn that that's not true. I learned that when I went to New York, that that's not necessarily true. But
I have the reverse story, by the way. I mean, I'm just the opposite. I was very insecure as a child, and have now realized I'm in fact incredible.
No.
you are.
I mean,
Yeah.
right, Tom?
No, I had a slow.
I thought you used to ignore everyone used to do the same sometimes and laugh at him, but he didn't actually even notice that they were laughing at him. I mean, it's translated into this specimen here we have in front of us, but
Yeah.
you missed a trick, guys. You could have been on stage.
We could have been on stage. I am on stage right now. We're on stage, but no one can see us. I love that. It's the best place for us, Tom. So take us. So here you are. You're getting into you start to get into acting at school. You're loving the laugh. You're loving the reaction. I mean, that's a great way to start. I think in general, like when you feel it, it's visceral. And was that like so early on? Then you were like, I'm heading into acting, because that's a pretty lot. And your parents, what did they say? Were they like, oh well, like most parents, this can be a hobby, get a real job, or they were like all in?
They were all in. Yeah, like I was a strange kid. Like I had a learning disability. I wasn't that good at school, and so my mom just was like, well, she's passionate about this, so let's just go all in on this. And I think my parents grew up where they like had certain expectations. My mom like went to school for finance. My dad was in business, but they're both artistic. And my mom is like an artist, and she used to do all the costumes and everything. And so I think they felt very stifled in their artistic journeys. So with me and my sister, they were like, go be an artist, do it, follow your dreams. So I never had any pushback from them, which I think probably helped a lot.
No, absolutely.
I know helped a lot. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We just had a guest on recently, Dr. Shafali, and she was saying how actually parents, the conscious parent, the problem being with so many of the parents is that they push their own dreams onto their children in order to fulfill things, but in a negative way, right? Versus releasing them to do what they want, which sounds like what your parents wanted to, like go be your thing. A lot of parents be like, no, I want you to play the violin. You must play. I tried, I failed. Now you will not fail.
I know. My mom was a diver. And so she would try to get us to dive and swim. And I couldn't go underwater without holding my nose like this until I was like, and she gave up on that dream real quick. So it was acting, no one in my family, it's not like I come from a family of actors or performers or anything like that. No music, like I guess my dad's cousin is a musician, but that's pretty much it. So I'm the only one out here doing this.
Crazy stuff. So look, you mentioned Britney Spears. Is Britney, she fair game at the moment for comedy, or is it just too touchy because of everything that's going on?
It's tricky because you obviously never want to make fun of someone's mental health. And so it's just tricky where you don't know where that is. I think she's off limits right now for comedy.
Good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You turn around and said, "Is Britney Spears still someone you emulate? Do you emulate Britney Spears the same way you did when you were a kid?" I mean, that could have been the question. That could have been on limits and safe.
Where there's a will, there's a way, is what Tom's trying to say. So basically, he's going to put on a very short girl's school dress and put his hair in little pigtails and do that.
I think there's a way to do it. I think there is. And they did, and they did it on SNL. Chloe Fineman did an awesome impression. So you can. I think you can't really I wouldn't touch on all the legal stuff that's happening with her and all that.
No, and also the health stuff, the bipolar and something, all that stuff. I only read about that in the last day or two, that she had suffered from bipolar. And we had another guest on here who was very kind of frank and open about having bipolar. And actually, you obviously the problem with that is that it's not a tangible thing that you can actually do anything about or medicate for. And if you look at the kind of cocktail of just total shit that poor woman was given, like Britney Spears was given. I mean, the story of the drugs that she was, and then it's like there is we will say there is no cure for bipolar. There isn't. There, you can't medicate. So if you look at the people like that who were literally medicated and experimented on to try and make them feel better, but all it did was exacerbate the kind of swings in mood or whatever. But actually, it's tragic. It's really, she's one of those people who, if she didn't have bipolar disorder, she would have been, she would have been a huge star. I think. I mean, when I say huge star, for her talent and her, she would have gone on to, I do other things as opposed to being this tragedy, that she's become, which is obviously it's not. I think
it's not over yet. Final chapter's not written yet, so that's the one thing.
Yeah, she just posted she got a new lawyer, I heard. So
let's go, Britney.
That's a step.
That's
free
right.
Britney.
We are all free Britney over here at the Shaken and Stirred show. So, is alcohol funny? Is that something you make jokes about? Is it funny in itself?
I think alcohol is funny. I think there's a lot you can do to define a character based on what they drink. So that's a fun thing to play with, is like, if this character is going to have a drink in their hand, what is it? Is it white wine? Is it a martini? And that says a lot about who you're playing. So I think that's fun.
It's interesting. I worked on a film with Russell Brand, and he was sober. He had become sober at this point, and he was playing. I was in a movie with him called Arthur. And it was the remake of the Dudley Moore movie. And I had a small part in the film, but I had to photograph him, and he had to play the drunk Arthur. And he, of course, being sober, was not going to give up on it. What he would do was they would bring in the alcohol, and Russell would smell the alcohol. That was enough of a kick to remind him of how he felt when he was actually drunk back in the day. And he would all of a sudden go into character and be completely like he was hammered and play Arthur. Do you have tricks? What do you do to sort of impersonate? Because you do these great impersonations. They're hilarious. I was just looking at your sort of country club ladies, swearing at one another about their bisexual son playing lacrosse. And it was hilarious. But sort of those sorts of characters, do you do things like that? Are there tricks to getting into character, like smelling alcohol or dressing up, or what do you do?
For me, it's usually one line. So that will bring me back into that, because I work on these characters and I create them, and then you have to jump back into them. So it's usually one thing that the character says that gets me right into it, or one look that they do. So I'll just remember, for those country club people, it's the Christine, and that gets me into it every time. And I start the video like that every time. And then, I do a very similar character to that when I do the white women. And for that one, it's the line I use is, I'm kidding. And then Florida girl, I use, no, you're facts. And that like jumps, that one line, like I can hear it in my head and I feel it in my body, and that will put me, then I say that before I record it, and then I'm in there.
And what's the research? Why those characters? What is it about them that you're drawn to them to be particularly funny? And they are hilarious. And it's, in a way, it's kind of one of those funny things where, for some reason, the country club one for me struck a chord only because, I don't know, I haven't seen that one as much. I haven't seen that one. Like a Florida woman, like Florida, like Jersey, like there's certain characters where people are like, they play those characters because they are caricatures of themselves naturally. But and I guess the country club one is as well, but I just not really seen it. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is bloody funny. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
So how do you pick?
Just from my life. When I was doing the Florida one, I was living in Florida for 2 months. So that was easy, just observing. The country club people, you know, my parents belong to a country club, so it's a lot of what I've witnessed with them and their friends. And my mom would hate me for saying that out loud.
Sorry, Mom.
She wants her friends not to think it's about them. And then just from life. You know, sometimes like a character will come to me. Usually when I'm in the shower, I'll like talk and do a character, and then I'll have to find a way to fit it into the world. But usually it comes from the world. So
you're basically naked under sort of hot water.
I'm naked. I got soap, and I'm just in the shower,
and then all of a sudden, it's country club lady.
And I'm like, anybody? That's yeah.
I love that. Yeah. What do you have? I mean, are there sort of characters that you dream of doing that you haven't done yet, or is it literally just people in your life? I'm just curious. Like, so we've interviewed many comedians on this show. We've had literally dozens of great comedians on, and they all have a sort of a way or a rhyme and a reason for how they come about the certain characters they're either known for, which is obviously the famous ones, and or it's like they have a kind of a world like politics that they like to hit on, right? So for you, what is there a genre type, or is it just kind of randoms?
I don't like to get too deep into politics or social issues or anything. I like to kind of come in at the angles, like from a point of view of a specific person. So I'm not necessarily ever saying anything politically myself, or ever, making a comment on any social issue or issues. I'm sort of like saying, well, this is how these people think about it, and this is how someone like this thinks about it, because I've heard it. I hear people's opinions and all the time. And so I'm never really like taking an angle. I'm just sort of coming at it from an observational standpoint, because I'm not an expert in politics. I'm not an expert in anything but, acting and comedy, honestly. So I like to observe and regurgitate rather than try to influence people's opinions or anything like that.
So expert in comedy, fair enough.
Self-appointed expert.
I'm going to ask this expert in comedy, what is funny? I mean, what makes something funny? I mean, for you, even if you're saying it, do you know that something's going to be funny when you do did you know it? Is it enough for yourself to laugh? Like, do you test it on your mum or your friends? Curious, is there like a recipe for this is bloody funny? It's like, I can taste a cocktail. I don't need to ask you. It's good. I can taste it.
Yeah.
When you're doing a skit, is it funny? I mean, I don't, do you know?
I have an idea, and I'll think something's funny, and there's a rhythm and everything, but I really test it out by posting it online. So some things, I definitely have posted some things that I thought were going to be funny that weren't. And then people will let you know in the comments.
And is that a safe way to do it? I only say that because, for example, and I don't know, you've got, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, and I know you've got several 100,000 followers even on Instagram and stuff like that. But there's a sort of, sometimes there seems to be no rhyme or reason to these social media channels, right? Like you post one thing one day and it sort of goes gangbusters, and then you post something the next day and it kind of just ticks along and it's hardly anything. And I know on TikTok that people sometimes post the same thing over and over again, and all of a sudden it hits and then goes bonkers. So, but is that different with comedy on TikTok and these channels versus sort of dance moves? Is it a different relationship you're having with people?
TikTok, you really do, once something hits, you do it over and over and over again, which is something that I didn't really want to do in the beginning, because I'm so like, I was doing sketch comedy and live comedy and everything before I was on social media, and I would never do the same sketch. I would never bring the same sketch to a different show, and that was part of it. So because I like doing all these different characters. But I learned on TikTok with the first thing that I ever had go viral was the Hallmark parodies, the Hallmark movie parodies. And then I realized that every time I posted a new Hallmark movie parody, the numbers grew, because people followed me because they liked that one parody. So they want to see it over and over and over and over. So now I have a bunch of characters that became series now. But Country Club People is the newest one. And now I'm realizing that all the people who just followed me for that Country Club People one want to see Country Club over and over and over and over. And there's still people that will write, I miss when you used to do Hallmark. Bring this person back. But for my own sanity, I'm like, I have to keep moving. I can't just be Hallmark girl for 10 years,
100%. Look, I can put, I'll post something and, like you said, and it can be a great job. It can be a cover of a magazine or something that you're really proud of. It happens to be a good picture. And people are just like, yeah, that's not America's Next Top Model. No, I'm not interested. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, for you, yeah.
So if I put up like a shot of mine from America's Next Top Model, all of a sudden 50,000 likes later, and everyone's like, oh my God. And I'm like,
right.
God, I posted this damn picture like 20 times on Instagram already, and you still love it just as much the 50th time. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, get over it. And they're so nostalgic. There's such a nostalgia. Yeah. What do you think that's from? And do you apply that to your comedy? I'm curious, because I mean, that it's interesting, because I think even if you look at actors, right, some of the most successful actors in the business play the same role in many ways in different movies, but they do it over and over again. It's the same person. I mean, Michael Caine is Michael Caine in every movie he's ever done, right? I mean, Tom Cruise is pretty much Tom Cruise in every movie. No matter what movie he's playing, whatever character, he's still Tom Cruise. And there's a lot of, most of the successful actors, I'm going to say all, but because there's a lot of great character actors out there. Is that something that you think about, like, when you're doing comedy, or is it something you're beginning to think about, like, I've got to typecast yourself, or are you just not going to go there?
I think that's been my struggle my entire career. Because, I was up until a year and a half ago, like I didn't really have much going for me in the like I've been at it for like 7 years in LA, and just not getting the auditions, just doing live comedy, trying to get a new agent, trying to do all this. And then TikTok came along, and it was like 1 year, and now I'm auditioning for all the things that I always wanted to audition for, and everything's kind of falling into place. But I think that has been my problem from the beginning, is I do all these characters, and I don't think I know exactly like what is just me. So I think the problem that I've had is I haven't picked something. But now with TikTok, I'm able to show it all. And then people see these series over and over, and it becomes easier for people to say, oh, she can play that. Oh, she can also play that. And there's a lot of proof of it. But yeah, I've never been good at being like, I'm the mean girl and I'm going to play this in every movie, or like, oh, I just like to do it all. And this right here, for some reason, has never worked either. So
that I don't believe.
I'll see.
It's just about timing.
It's timing. And it's, and it is type. Like type is so important in acting. They have to look at a picture of you and see you're real and know exactly what you are. And if your real has a bunch of different things, it's confusing and they don't know what you play, especially in the beginning.
But that's almost like any creative job, right? So if you go to an architect and he shows you sort of 20 different designs, you're like, well, which one?
I don't get it. Yeah.
One, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you go to sort of Frank Lloyd Wright to have a certain kind of style done, right? You go to a certain designer because Armani looks like Armani and Valentino looks like Valentino and Ralph Lauren, bless his soul, looks like Ralph Lauren from, his clothes have done. So like polo shirts changed in 50 years or whatever. Like it's a sort of, there's something that is incredibly annoying about the fact that you sort of have to stay in your lane when you, as a creative person, right, you want to branch out in many different directions and try things, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think there's a reason that the actors who make it play the same thing over and over, is because people know what to expect from them. They're good at it. They know they're going to be good at that. And it's satisfying. That's what people want.
But I watched something like, so just jumping in here, something like, you mentioned Tom Cruise earlier. So we love him in Mission Impossible. We love him in this. We love him in that. He's a very similar character in all these things. And he's great to watch and all the rest of it. But, his private life, I mean, boy, would you really want to go and have dinner with him? I mean, no. Am I like that? Like, really can't think of anything. There's kind of a little tantrum, but the alleged tantrum. The kind of the attitude on set, the kind of that whole that behaviour, which is not the characters he's playing, and actually so I don't know. I mean, it must be quite difficult. I don't know. When you're sort of revered for. People expect something of you, I guess, and then actually the real life is like, just I'm not like that. Leave me alone. And actually, I just want to go. I just want to have dinner or whatever. It's like night. It's like night treatment night in New York. It's a nightmare. People coming up to as he these days, people's mothers or grannies, because America's Next Top Model was like 20 years ago. But coming up, going, oh my God, you're Nigel Barker. Oh no, worse. Actually, people coming up to me going, you're my mother's favorite or something like that. But and it's like you're kind of being kind of revered for something that you were or that you were playing. You're being typecast and not as yourself. I don't know. Is that not the price of being a well-known face? As well. I mean, trying to work out who you are, on a daily basis. It must be quite difficult, right?
Yeah. Well, something that I always worry that I'm just going to be too boring, because people expect me to be funny. Like they're like, oh, she does all this, she does all that. And then you meet me in person and I'm just always so worried I'm boring. Like I'm not funny enough, or like I'm not witty enough off the cuff,
Tell us a joke right now. Go on, be funny.
Yeah, exactly. And people are like, oh, you're a comedian, tell a joke. I'm like, oh, well, no.
No, I'm having lunch. Yeah, exactly. Leave me alone. I'm having a sandwich.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the most. But now, like when we go out, when we go socialize with people, like most people see my TikTok or Instagram, and then so I don't really get this anymore. But before I had any success on the apps, people would be like, "Oh, you do comedy? Okay, say something funny."
No, God.
I know.
And do you have like anything up your sleeve for those moments, or you just walk away?
I say, what kind of bees make milk?
What?
Boobies.
There you go.
That's what I used to say. And they'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, when people say to me, oh, you're a photographer, you're that photographer, right? Can you take a picture of me? Make me look great. I just normally just say, sorry, I'm not a magician.
Ooh.
And see, then you could be a comedian at that point.
You know, I'm always auditioning to be a comedian. That's you know. When you were growing up, what were you watching? What did you sort of grow up watching?
I actually did watch a lot of Project Runway.
Project Runway, even.
Yeah. But no, I Whose Line Is It Anyway and SNL were my favorites growing up, which I guess makes sense. And then, you know, I was like in the Hannah Montana, all that. I would just watch silly stuff. I would never watch anything serious, ever. Just silly stuff.
And do you ever think about what you want? Do you ever pull from those times? Are those sort of? Do you ever, you know, go back and think, oh, there's something I want to pull from one of those old shows that I used to love? You know, when you're doing your, did you research in that manner?
I think a lot of the SNL characters stuck with me. Just the performances and, you know, the way that they would. I think the SNL characters stuck with me. I really have a terrible memory from growing up. Like, I remember very little details about anything. I think I was always in my own world.
Crazy town. There you go. Sounds like. I mean, Tom and I both tried to forget what growing up was like, but I think I remember it all too clearly. You know, one of the funniest things. I mean, most kids are like this, and I've got two kids. I've got a 12-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son, and they're constantly coming home and impersonating their teachers. You know, that seems to be where it all starts. There's sort of you know, they're sort of the crazy teachers and how they speak and how they behave and what they do or what have you. And they're like, so and so did this, and then they put on an impersonation and they immediately kind of mimic. Did you ever do anything like that? Is that how it started for you? When was that first moment when you were like, actually, I'm quite good at impersonating?
I mean, there were a few teachers that I think we would all imitate. A lot of growing up, I was kind of shy, and I remember watching the boys be funny, you know, like sitting around and watching the boys do little impersonations of people and watching the boys be funny and tell jokes. And it really was like, at least, you know, the high school I went to, the girls didn't really like do stuff like that. So the only time I really did stuff like that was improv practice, and when I was with my sister and some close girlfriends. But it's not like I was some sort of a class clown or like walking around being funny. You know, I was trying to be a proper female for a long time.
So so that, what you now you've rebelled and gone, okay, no, gender equality.
Oh yeah, no, I hate men. No. No, I did, and I think it's like something that
don't blame the men for being funny and the girls not. The girls have to step up and be funny. I mean, that's what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think I stopped caring and just stopped caring what anyone would think. I had like this whole, oh, what would they think? And even when I started posting my TikToks on Instagram, I was like, oh, what will all the people from high school think? And then I was like, why do you care? You're never going to see these people. And yeah.
Interesting. You sort of opened up that Pandora's box of gender equality now, where you're talking about boys having, you know, being allowed to be funny while it wasn't sort of, girls were not being funny because somehow because it's not sexy? Is it not? Is it, or, you know, is that what I'm curious? Because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting fact that, because I can see that, you know, where if you're too funny, if you're too clowny or something, then maybe that's not attractive enough. Pulling faces and things, you know, maybe it's not funny. That's not sexy. Or it's not pretty.
Yeah. I think, at least for me, I think I embarrassed myself a few times because the boys wouldn't laugh. And then I just sort of got this like shy thing where it's like, well, nobody laughs at me. I'm not funny in this group. I'm not funny like around these people. So then I had certain groups of girls or my sister family members that I would be funny in front of. And I would do it like at my comedy school and with my theater team, but not just like in life. You know, it was very specific pockets of places that I would do it. And now that's over. Obviously.
So, well, I mean, it's over, but I'm curious too, because like you said, there are certain jokes which everyone kind of gets, and I'm curious. Like, this is an interesting thing because you start going into the psychology of humor and comedy, and you know, are there some jokes, do you think, that are universally funny, and other jokes which are specific? I mean, it seems like the obvious answer is yes, but I mean, but what makes that? Do you think? How do we? How does that come about in general?
I mean, I don't know. I definitely don't think my humor is
Come on, Nicole,
funny.
you have the answer to all these questions. You're the expert.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, for instance, my dad, he has a set of like 10 jokes that he can pull out at any party and everyone in the room will laugh. But I think it's also situational. It's like you're socially telling a joke and everyone's supposed to laugh and it's funny enough to laugh, so everybody laughs. But I think like when you're staring at a phone or, you know, when you're watching something on stage, the audience laughs, you laugh. It's kind of a thing. I think humor becomes very specific when it's not a social thing.
Yeah, also the irony, sorry, Nigel, I just got to point this out, the irony of you asking a serious question about what makes comedy fun. I mean, fucking hell, seriously, literally almost take that back. It's kind of like there's something you can't make comedy serious. You can't ask, can you ask, okay, let me ask the comedian, can you ask a serious question about why comedy is funny? I don't know if you can, that's the whole point, isn't it?
Well, comedy is serious business. That's what they say, right?
There you go.
Ooh, good answer. Good answer.
Right back at you, Asta.
No, not right back at me. I got my answer. There we go. Thank you.
Serious business, people. Serious business of being funny.
Right. It's really making me think here. I feel like I'm learning a lot.
No, well, you know, we're always curious. We always like want to know a little bit more. I think, and you know, I find we get great guests, and digging deep around into these subjects also helps other people kind of find themselves in it too, and kind of helps guide them out there. I mean, what would your recommendations be to a young girl who's, say, at high school or, you know, whatever part of school, to be honest with you, because my daughter's only 12, and you know, I think my daughter's actually pretty funny. She's got a pretty fast sense of humor. She picks up on things that are being said, turns them around, says things. And oftentimes, I think, to your point, I think people are like, you're being precocious, or you're being this, you're being that. But ultimately, she's just got a good sense of humor. So what do you recommend for kids that are out there, you know, especially girls, I guess, you know, who may relate to you in your story, as far as how to express themselves in a successful manner? Do you have any idea of what you did or what you should have done, or if you were to look back at yourself?
I mean, I think finding an outlet to do it, like joining an improv team or joining theater or something like that, where you kind of explore the comedy in a safe space. Or, I mean, if you're bold, if you're not shy, then you probably have no problem just walking around like that, just being funny. But I don't know. It's hard. I think comedy develops much later in life, I think.
Nigel quite early on, actually. He's one of those people who walks around just being funny. In America, though, his humor I've noticed his humor. Whenever I go over there, I think I might get an intense rush of the English humor, because there's different. You know, obviously people in different countries find different things funny, right? Humor's different wherever you go, right? So I've always found, I shall say this not as a compliment, but as an observation. But Nigel's one of the funniest people I know. But he's very, very quick and cutting and deadly. And that's a kind of English type of comedy thing. But it doesn't, if he said half the things to his American fellow friends that he does to me, I think you'd just be met with an icy silence as opposed to outright, you know. I mean, it's funny, you know, how, what we can say to sort of one person can be so staggeringly offensive to another, you know, but so being, I don't know, it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, you know, in life that, let's say, it's not taking yourself too seriously, really, isn't it? Which is hopefully what I try and do with Nigel. Stop taking, you know, he takes himself too seriously sometimes, but
clearly.
You agree with that?
Do you guys like watching American comedy, or what are your thoughts?
I love people like Dave Chappelle. You know, I mean, there are so many great comedians out there. I mean, there's obviously incredible American comedians, and that's. I think it has to do with there's just different styles, right? So in England, it's in British humor, it's first of all quite dry. It's quite it's also quite cutting in a way too. It sort of brings you down to size type of thing. It's almost like a roast at all times. So there's that. It's very roasty, and then and when if you do, and English people, and Tom and I went to a boarding school together, so we grew up like brothers almost. We were sort of known each other, and at a school where you sleep the night since we were 13 years old. And so you end up having this sort of incredible camaraderie. So it ends up, that kind of friendship also is like sibling friendship. So there is a way with siblings where you'll say something which is so close to the bone, but where only perhaps you would know what that meant. So that it does touch a nerve, but the person loves you, so you laugh it off. But if you don't know, and I feel like oftentimes with American humor that it can go borderline more slapstick and less, sort of perhaps, not to say it's not intellectual, but there's an element of English humor where you touch on some random nerve, which it's not really a ha-ha funny joke, but it's funny because of what you've just said and how it connects back directly to that individual,
Right. Yeah.
You've got, but then, Monty Python is a great export from England. The Americans love Monty Python, right? We love those those summer vacation holidays with Chevy Chase down. We love American humor as well. It does actually work both ways, even if it's not kind of like face to face. The English love American humor, and the American, I've never met an American who didn't like Monty Python. There is. You know what I mean? It weirdly does go both ways. Yet it's so different in your own country. You couldn't get away with it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But it exports. Do you export well? It's such a funny question. Sorry. I mean, it's such a weird question. Do you export well?
You mean, does my comedy export well?
Yeah. Do you, as your comedy, does it export? Do you have other countries it goes down as well as it does in America?
I have 85% of my followers are women in America between 16 and 35. And then I have a chunk of Australian followers, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few, but if you put the numbers together, it really is very specific.
There you go. It's white women.
Nigel. Now Nigel knows the demographic of his followers, but is he prepared to say them?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I am 80% female, 20% male. Of the male, 19.9% of the gay community, which gives me sort of 0.1% of probably, Tom. And then it's mostly, it goes, this is the interesting thing, it goes America, US, specifically New York and LA and Miami, but then it goes Philippines, then it goes Ecuador, and then it goes Delhi in India, right? Then we come back to we go UK, Canada, and then we start dotting all over the world into really random places like sort of Hong Kong and Macau and sort of random places like that. So, and it actually all goes back to where America's Next Top Model did really well historically. So we had a huge fan base in Asia, and what have you. Anyway, and in the Philippines and places like that, so they always tune in and listen to everything and what have you. But predominantly female. And
Nicole, he's showing off. He's like, they all tune in and they all this, and they all this kind of.
all three of them.
35-year-old white women in America and a sprinkling of Australians. Nice, really. I mean, come on. Just like, is whose podcast is this? Seriously.
It's my podcast.
Yeah, I know. It's not your turn to show off, honestly.
You see that? This is where we go.
It's fascinating. It is interesting.
It's thank
well,
you.
There's a gay icon or a gay pinup.
I'll take it all. I'll take it all, Tom. I'm happy exactly where I am. I want to get into your favourite subject, Tom, here. While we have Nicole on. STDs. So much to talk about, so little time. How did you get into the subject of chlamydia?
When I was 16, I was in New York for a summer. I actually moved to New York when I was 17 to 19 to go to a performing arts school and act. But the summer before, I was in New York and I was trying to audition, self-submitting on Actors Access. And I submitted for this thing and I got, it was my first professional acting job. And I was a cheerleader with chlamydia in an STD awareness video. And honestly, I put that in my bio because I want someone to find it. I want someone to be like, oh, we watched that video in school during health. It's this one, because I'd love to see it.
Wow. So you've not seen it yet? That's not something you've come
No. It's just something when I was 16, I got paid $75 to have chlamydia and wear a cheerleading uniform. And I'm sure it's playing somewhere in some school to teach kids about STDs. And I just want to see it.
Wow. There you go, people. If you can find it, dig it out and send it to us here at the Shaken and Stirred Show. And we will share it with everybody, especially, obviously, Nicole. Nicole, that's hilarious. I got a funny video that I did too that I've not seen.
Sorry.
What's that?
That's just unfortunate what you just said. Come on, we'll just share it around. We'll just share it with everyone.
I want to share it with everyone. We're going to give everyone a little bit of the chlamydia,
Yeah, I think I'll put it as the first thing on my acting reel if we find it.
You got to. You have to. As would I with this. I the only one I have not seen, I think, that I know of myself, which is pretty funny too, is when I went to become an American citizen, I got fast-tracked. And one of the reasons they said I could fast-track is if they could video me becoming a citizen. And
oh my gosh!
If I would be a part of the official video for when immigrants become Americans, that I'll be in a video that they show people of people that have become American. And I was like, oh. And they were like, well, we can do it today. So anyone who knows how long it can take to get your passport and your green card and become American, I did it, and I was there, and I did the whole thing, and the whole thing happened for me in the space of a few hours. And I walked out with a sort of hot off the press passport in my hand, but I had to do the whole thing and be videoed, and and I'm right there front and center. I've never seen the video because, of course, you never go again, right? So you never go through that process again. So I don't know what they did, what it looks like, or what anyone who's seen it, but hey, that's a video I'd love to see too. I think it's pretty funny to be a part of the sort of American citizenship video.
Yeah. So, that's the video they show when people are becoming. Oh, you have to find someone who's just about to become a citizen.
Right, I know. And they have to secretly put their hand up with their phone in it and video it or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Too funny for words. Look, you've been so generous. Before we let you go, we have something on the show called Last Orders. It's a pretty simple, rapid-fire kind of question moment. Are you up for it? Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
Here we go. Yeah, I need your funniest answers now, Nicole.
Oh God. Okay.
And you can choose to do it in your country club lady accent too, if you wish. I mean, whatever rocks you. If animals could talk, in your opinion, which would be the rudest?
Cat.
Why cat?
Cats are rude. They're just rude in general.
They are. But why is that? Why are cats so damn rude? It's so weird, isn't it? There's something wrong with cats. Our cat won't come anywhere near me.
I think they have an ego.
Oh, here we go again. The word ego comes up all the time. Got it down. How you ego? Which kitchen utensil describes you best?
Electric mixer.
Okay. And
No explanation.
no explanation. Fine. Done. Electric mixer. There you go, people. In the movie of your life, who would you have play you?
Oh my gosh. Maybe Emma Stone.
Emma Stone.
If she gives a good audition.
So you'd have to audition her first. I love that. There you go, Emma.
Yeah, all Oscar winners, all audition.
Perfect. We have it here. What floats your boat and what gets your goat?
What floats my boat? Tequila outside.
Perfect.
What gets my goat? The sound of people chewing.
Oh, really? You don't like chewing?
I don't like chewing.
So if you hear chewing, what happens?
I get angry.
Really? Angry? It's
Rage.
an anger thing.
Rage. It's rage.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
I know. It's very.
Not a phobia. It's actually sort of a hatred.
It's a hatred. Yeah.
Wow. I'm not chewing in front of you anytime soon. I can tell you
Well,
that.
if there's some sort of white noise, it's okay. It's more like chewing in a quiet room.
There you go, people. So you don't like people chewing gum. Is the gum a problem or is it just food?
Actually, it's not gum. It's just food.
There you go.
Mhm.
Easiest question here, the final one. Nicole, shaken or stirred?
Shaken.
There you have it, people. Nicole DuBois. How do you DuBois or DuBois? How do you say it?
Dubois.
DuBois. DuBois. I
Dubois.
love that. Nicole DuBois.
Dubois, possibly the first person suffering or not suffering with, it's called misophonia, which is a disorder which means you have a hatred of sounds such as eating, chewing, loud breathing, or pen clicking.
I have self-diagnosed myself with that.
Misophonia, I've never heard of it. I like a good phobia. So it's a phobia, nice. That's it's actually, is it actually a phobia? Yeah, it is, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Nicole,
That's
people can
fun.
find you on YouTube, right? At basically Nicole DuBois.
TikTok and Instagram at Nikki Doobs, NICKYDOOBS. But yes, I'm also on YouTube, but I'm more on TikTok and Instagram.
Nikki Doobs. I almost thought you said Nikki Boobs, but that's not what you said.
That is something I get in my DMs a lot. More like Nikki Boobs. I get that from a lot of guys.
You didn't hear that from me. I just misheard you. But Nikki Doobs it is. We love it. We love you. Good luck with everything. We'll be in touch, and we can't wait to actually see us being impersonated. Come on now, Nikki. Nicole.
I know. Well,
go
now I have
impersonate us.
to.
You're gonna have to You're gonna have to do us both. I think that's the only way it's gonna work. We can't wait.
Okay.
Good luck with everything. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for listening. That is Shaken and Stirred. We will be back next week with another podcast and another fantastic guest. And stay safe.
See ya.